Well, you're still on Nigeria Decides, and we're live from our Lagos studios. We're pumped up with lots of energy because, you know, we're going to be here all day. And we're bringing you live updates from across the country. We had reported earlier about President Buhari voting in Daura. We also have images of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar voting in Adamawa. We also have former Governor and Vice Presidential candidate Peter Obi talking about the voting process.
And definitely to do justice to all of these developments and much more, we have Adewale Adigbeson, a logistics expert, and we still have in our studio Adeni Ikunu with us to discuss further details here.
Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Gentlemen, it's good to note that, yes, President Buhari rose early, went to cast his vote. We've also heard that Atiku Abubakar has gone out there and gotten his vote cast. Peter Obi, Yemi Oshibajo done same. So we are here to also get reports from the camps of Showore, Fela Durotoye, and much more, and then see how things are going. But sadly, within Surulere, there are reports of card readers not having network. And so they are being told that, well, we might likely have to deal with voting manually. But we were told by INEC that there was supposed to be a technical team to assist with all of these issues, but there is none there. And then INEC officials over there in Surulere, and that's Unit 51 EC30A, are saying that, well, they're still waiting for a technician. This is already past 10 o'clock.
Well, I have to say that it is one of what INEC should have factored in, because even cell phones at times just freeze up and we have to battle with it. Some of us have to leave it for about an hour, because these things are actually prone to such experiences. But that being said, I think INEC has given another window, which is to use the incidence forms, if at all such a thing happens. So I believe that to be proactive, because by 2, whatever it is you're doing...
It's supposed to be closed.
Yeah, so except, of course, you're at the center before 2, that's when you'll be allowed to go on with the others. But if you're not there, that simply means you won't be able to participate. So I'm very happy that at least this is something happening to those who are already at the center. So that said, rather than wait for a technician that is not there, and that is the essence of thinking out of the box, since you already have an alternative, rather than waste man hours expecting the technician to come from wherever, why don't you switch, especially...
But we're told by INEC that there's not going to be any use of incidents forms.
I'm saying that at this juncture, you cannot, if you're talking about manual voting is akin to using such methods that allow you to say, okay, something has happened, we have to, especially when you're talking about manual voting. Why do you have incidence forms? It is simply because people have to use the alternative to vote. So whatever it is that INEC itself has even said, let us understand that at this point, something has to be done to the people who have come out to exercise their franchise. You wouldn't want to send them back home. For instance, INEC has in excess of about 180-something thousand ad hoc staff working with it, over 100, I guess. And we're talking about 176 polling centers. I do not think that INEC will be able to make equal provision for about 176 polling centers in equal number of those technicians that will take. INEC will be, in terms of financial burden, it will be too much for them to handle. And don't forget that they also told us that these things are configured to stop work at 10 p.m.
At 10 p.m.
So if, for instance, at 6 p.m., because once it is dark, I know of a surety that there are no provisions for alternative sources of power. So whatever it is that has to be done must be done now that we've got the privilege or the advantage of natural lighting.
Daytime,
it is very, very key.
Adewale,
So
what do you also
forms.
think as well? Because if INEC has come out with this excuse saying that they are waiting for the technical team to arrive and then sort out this network situation, where lies their foresight then?
This is...
First, they arrive late, and then smart card readers are not working.
I will say generally that this is some logistics issues which they have been talking about all this while. And I believe that probably they should have put some team on ground to actually solve these problems. Because the process itself, it's a very cumbersome process in terms of being for logistics wise. It's heavily cumbersome. So they have to ensure that we have a lot of logistic guys that is ready to support them at every point in time. You have a backup team at every point in time to support wherever there is failure But I don't know. I don't know what.
But you're a logistics expert, and INEC stated clearly the reasons why last week elections were suspended or postponed to today was because of issues of logistics.
Sure.
And we're not talking about logistics here again. So if it took them, because I remember when he spoke to the media, he said something about the fact that it would not be enough. There was not enough time to format these card readers, you know, and so they had ample time. How come we're here again after we've given them ample time to do so? And if this be the case, how come there was not at least one technician attached to, even if we can't have one at every polling unit, one within a radius where you can easily just zigzag through the area?
Absolutely.
Why weren't we thinking that way?
And adding to what Marianne just said, we can't blame it on the reconfiguration, because the INEC chairman told us that all of the card readers had been reconfigured. So why would some work in polling XYZ and not work in the other?
Well, I think the major challenges with the logistics angle, what I have seen so far, is because INEC, I think INEC needs to decentralize the entire system, whereby we have people that could be called upon on emergency and they will act. But if you try to centralize the entire system, you're going to have this kind of issues coming up, and that's why you are seeing some of the readers not working now, or materials getting late at some of these locations. So if the process is decentralized, I think we're going to have a better, smooth and solutions to logistics as regards this election. So that's why I think they should look at ways whereby the system is more simpler, and then the solutions for the logistics process is now more simpler. And then people can now know that, okay, in case there are challenges, okay, I can call upon the backup team that I can call upon that is close to me to solve that issue, to solve the problem. So these have to be done in such a way that the process from up down must be very, must be like a straight line issue, and it's simple. And then you have to know where to attack the problems coming from. No doubt about that. There could be some challenges operationally. There could be some challenges even in terms of logistics as well. But the issue is that is the process straight, and where are the people at the backup team that will support me when I have some of these challenges? So I think that's what they need to look at for. So probably maybe the issue of the readers, somebody needs to have checked before even.
Couldn't these machines be tested? Because again, the issue of coming early comes to play. If they had showed up early before the normal voters came out, they could have tested to see if there would be any problem. Because you know how machines can be. I mean, even computers, you know, sometimes can freeze and you need to restart them or let it hibernate for a while. So if these people showed up early, maybe these issues could have been checked earlier on and would have saved man hours, like he said.
Yeah, well, it still boils down to number one, logistics, as I've said before. Because one, you have to know, we have about 774 local governments.
Yes.
And the materials need to get to all these local governments. And then some of these materials that we're talking, probably there are not enough security to guarantee the safety of those materials. And then maybe they are just being deployed. So naturally, if there are enough securities and the action plan for logistics have been put in place, probably what we'll see is that some of these materials, both sensitive and non-sensitive materials, will have been discharged at the various local governments early enough, okay? And then there will be a test run on all these materials in terms of their functionality. And after that, then we can now look at, okay, from local governments down to the wards, the polling stations, what is the distance? Can we actually meet up from each local, because we have a turnaround time that, okay, every material must be at each polling station at 8 a.m. in the morning. So you have to look at the process. From local government, can we actually meet up 8 a.m. in the morning? If the answer is no, probably they have to further decentralize that process to see that, okay, from that local government, can we also have another center close to the polling wards where we can actually organize ourselves and ensure that we have materials at the polling stations at the right time in their proper states. So there should be a process whereby maybe from the central warehouse, whether in Abuja, to state secretariats, and then from state down to local governments. All this process must be checked, and then security around this process must be ascertained. Because there is no because the risk about logistics is that if you put up a good logistics system, then you have to look at the security around the logistics system. Otherwise, the system will be compromised.
Most definitely. And now you've just hinted on the structure that we should be looking out towards. But what exactly would you say is the biggest challenge with logistics, especially with regards to this election?
Well, to me, I would say challenge, because they have all the arsenal, they have all the resources to actually.
Do they?
Yeah. Well, from what we had, that they have resources to actually execute this process. Okay. So now the issue is the security around those logistics solutions.
That's what you think the issue is?
Yes, because these are sensitive issues. These are sensitive materials. And then you cannot just say because you are deploying solutions, logistics solutions, and then you have to you deploy the resources that are both sensitive and to a place where you cannot guarantee of the security. So because the entire process must ensure that that process itself is, in terms of risk management, you have said that okay, it is credible process, and this process logically, then what we are trying to achieve, we will also achieve it with the logistics we have on ground, and then also ensure that the process itself is not compromised.
Okay, Mr. Kunu, for Lagos State, let me speak for Lagos State. The CP released an information that 30,000 policemen were deployed for election day. And it's detailed for different other states across the Federation. He said that what he thinks is the biggest issue is security. Do you think that that's enough security to deal with the issue of logistics, to back up the kind of logistic plan that they already have on ground, not to compromise the security of those materials?
In the first place, you must understand that nobody has factored in the importance of police officers themselves getting crash course in logistic management.
Yeah.
And that is one of the most terrible angles that we appear to leave out in this discussion. A police officer that is detailed to go with some persons that are from INEC office must also have been given some preliminary briefing regarding what their roles should be, such that there will be a synchronization of functions when they eventually meet up with the INEC people.
Yeah.
So there should have been some kind of simultaneous training for the police in sync with what INEC gave to its ad hoc staff, so that the police officers, while encumbering themselves with security concerns, would also know that timeliness is of the essence. And what police officers normally do is they report first to the command before they join up with INEC people.
Yeah. Okay.
So these things are very critical. And in all of the analysis that many persons have put out, it is a fact that the person who guarantees the safety of the sensitive materials doesn't even understand the role he has to play.
Exactly.
Which is very important.
Well, we'll still touch on other issues around this, but we have the video of Vice President Emil Shibajo. We initially saw images of him getting accredited, and we see he's casting his vote right there. And yes, he's getting his decision made. He's decided as well.
I hope he's voting for himself.
And we can also
see the former governor and vice presidential candidate of the PDP, Peter Obi, also lining up there to cast his vote. So it seems that everyone is gradually getting on with the process. We see him flanked by his wife there, obviously.
Yes, of course, that's his wife.
Making sure that his vote counts.
They all seem to appear with their wives. We've also seen the president as well with his wife.
Yes, I saw the
and
wife with him, yeah.
Former Vice President
the
Atiku
PDP
Abubakar.
candidate as well with his wife there.
Yes. So we're going to keep giving you live feed or pictures from the different polling units, and also we're going to give you updates as they keep coming in.
Earlier we saw President Muhammadu Buhari casting his vote as well, and that's his wife alongside himself, and it was a smooth running in Dara. Actually, they had their smart card readers working well, and the president cast his vote quite easily. And we also saw the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar also, who has cast his vote. He actually
Timo
addressed
Dawa.
the press as well.
Yes, he did.
He initially spoke Hausa, but I barely could understand what was
Yes, it was a bit
said
difficult
there.
for us to pick up anything that he was saying, but then I guess after a while he switched into English. So we'll keep just, rolling these pictures and visuals. Still talking about the issue of logistics, somebody from Edo State sent us a message talking about the fact that they still are yet to start the process.
Yeah.
In fact, people are not even coming out because maybe they waited for a while and then they just thought that it's not going to happen.
You see,
how does this affect the psychology of people? Because if in Benin people are not coming out, there's a problem.
Yeah. Well, you see, logistics is actually big as regards this issue, as I've said before, because we have the same timing all over the federation. So based on that, the materials for this operation should have been at a distance not too far away.
But that's what INEC said.
Yeah, you see, but what we had was that, these are materials that discharge at local governments. The local governments. The local governments to polling stations sometimes in Nigeria, and then the terrains of our roads, infrastructures, and things like that. This actually affect a lot of things.
So then how would you then prescribe that we transport these sensitive materials, logistics going
as I've said before, it wasn't on security. We can actually look at the process, because I believe INEC would have run this process before now to see that, okay, at this particular local government, if I want to cover the other polling stations around this, it's going to take me this long to get materials, both sensitive and non-sensitive materials to those locations. The time they should have it, the time is going to take, but with whatever logistic process
they are going to use,
yes, whatever in terms of kind of a logistic operation they're going to use, whether by road, by rail, by air, or by sea.
But the deed has been done now, so do you expect that we'll see any extension in the closing time?
Well, I don't know, because number one, definitely this process is on, and I believe that some of these delays were as a result of those infrastructures. Yes, some of those from those local government to some areas that is very hard to actually, deliver on time. So I believe maybe in future.
And then quickly, Wayne, you've observed elections back-to-back from 2011, 2015, and now. Do you think we might likely see any extension of the timing for those whose polling units have been challenged massively by this sort of
The extension will be very unofficial. INEC cannot contradict itself at this point. 2 p.m. is 2 p.m. officially.
8 a.m. is 8 a.m. but INEC didn't get
officially.
They didn't get
But
it.
for the people who actually are there, which will make sure that the extension happens, because if you look at it, the people who have been there, or the people who didn't get to begin their voting until about 9:15, they cannot be sent packing. As a matter of fact, INEC has made it clear that for those persons who have been there before the 2 p.m. hour, they definitely must be attended to. And with the delay we've seen, so that simply means some polling centers, as you rightly said, the report from Benin has it, that certain persons have not even started. So if at all those people feel, okay, we should exercise our franchise, and they come out maybe at 11, definitely they'll be there till 7. And INEC officials have a responsibility to attend to them so that they can exercise their franchise, because it's no fault of the people. If, for instance, nobody came to the polling center until 2:01, INEC has to walk away because nobody was there before that. Looking at all of this, I think that INEC has a very, very big task of staying awake and ensure that there's a sensitization of across the length and breadth of Nigeria, such that immediately after this election, every day of the week or twice in a week, across all media platforms in this country, INEC must continue on voter education. Let me tell you, the greater number of the people in this country do not even understand the basics of the voting process. Oftentimes you have mothers get led to the polling centers by some adults who himself or herself has faint idea of the process. I have lived on the north before. The northern part of this country, although they say that they don't have as much education as we do, but the enthusiasm when it comes to election is really high.
They come out in their
So
numbers.
they come out in their, for instance, Katsina State has collection of PVCs over 98% of people collected.
Exactly.
So if you look at collection of PVCs in a state where you think they're not as educated as those in Lagos, it tells you that when it comes to certain certain things that has to do with governance and participation, they quite have demonstrated a better understanding of people in Lagos. In Lagos, for instance, you have the highest number of PVCs collected. Afterwards, 5.5 million, kind of about 4.86 million. But even at that, you still have millions of PVCs not collected in Lagos. So it tells you that oftentimes what we tout to associate with some kind of education is not indeed what it is. It's about your understanding of patriotic acts, your understanding of participation, your understanding of your inclusiveness in the governance process of your country, so that you can actually have the dividends of democracy and be a stakeholder when the process comes to
All right, Mr. Kunu, we will come back to more of this discussions, but we have to go to Ogun. There's a video reaching us from Ogun State, giving us an update on what is happening there. So let's take that short video, and when we come back, we'll discuss more. Stay tuned.
It's a ballot paper, a sample of ballot paper that you will be issued today. Now, we expect that you are going to print in front of the political party of your choice. Also, the presiding officer, which is me, I'm going to ensure that I stamp, sign, and date at the back of every ballot paper that I issue out. Because we are going to be doing 3 elections today, I'm going to be giving every one of us 3 types of ballot paper. Now, one for the presidential, another one for the Senate, another one for the House of Rep.
I arrived there around 7. We started immediately 8 o'clock on dot.
So far, they've been orderly, but we don't know what might happen, and we hope it will not happen. So that if anybody comes here to come and disrupt this place, we'll have able-bodied people who will checkmate them. Because it is our right to vote, and we will vote. You can go with your ATM card to any ATM and draw money. You should be able to bring your voter's card from anywhere in Nigeria. Put it in the POS machine or the card reader or whatever. It's a POS as far as I'm concerned. And then you should be able to draw your money, which is be able to vote. All these rubbish things they are doing is illiteracy. And I'm surprised at the highest level of government, this is still prevailing.
Now, we had a video from Ogiri in Ogun State. We are having 1 presidential seat being fought for, 73 candidates running for that seat, 109 senatorial seats, and we have over 1,904 candidates vying for that position and 360 House of Representative seats and 4,680 candidates going for that seat. Now, gentlemen, we heard that little bit of education going on there. That's what is expected across the different polling units as well. How do you think this feeds in, really, in ensuring that we don't have as much void ballot papers as we've counted over in the past?
Well, I need to begin by saying voter education that appears to be the least scored is actually the most important. If you go into any new environment, for instance, if an organization employs you, the HR has the responsibility to, first of all, acquaint you with other members of staff through official mail. Then they take you on a tour of the premises, particularly those who will be walking around your offices, that there's a new person that has joined us. This is the role of that person. And they ensure that there's a soft landing for you so that you can come in sync with the work culture of your new environment. Every year, particularly voting year, especially the presidential elections, you'd find that we would have some new addition. For instance, the next time we vote by 2028, 2023, I beg your pardon. By 2023, when we vote, if, for instance, in Lagos alone, that has at the moment a population of 5 million, you have in excess of 500,000 persons who are 17 years now. That means by next year, sir, you'd have about 500,000 persons ready to vote. So 500,000 over 4 years will mean 2 million new persons that have never voted before. The question then is, what is the approach or methodology that INEC has put in place to ensure that these persons are taken through the basics of participating in elections? That means in Lagos alone, INEC would have to make provisions for 2 million new PVCs, what will INEC do between now and 2023 to ensure that these people within the next 1 year are able to get some kind of consideration? For instance, the next 3 years, people will be 18. The election year, you'd have another 500,000. So that means that between now and that time, INEC must have made provisions for where immediately these people turn 18. And that is the essence
That is continuous voter education.
But they call it continuous, but it has become a staggered registration that is always close to when we have elections. Now, I am not saying this to indict INEC. I'm saying that some of these things are not rocket science. And some of us are always open, even if we have to do it pro bono, to help prepare paperwork, help do researches, so that INEC can make the process better appreciated and less cumbersome for everybody.
Definitely, impact is of essence when we're talking about voter education. Marianne, we have some updates, isn't it?
Yes, of course. We hear that the governorship candidate for the PDP here in Lagos State is getting set to vote, to cast his vote. We can see that video right now. It's a silent film, apparently. We're still yet to see him. I don't know why they're showing us feet. Okay, well, we can see him now. That's Mr. Jimmy Agbaje. He just arrived his polling unit. He's about to cast his vote. We cannot get any audio right now, but I'm sure that when he's done, he obviously might address the press. But it's good to see that he's out there, about to cast his vote. He's flanked by his wife. And I'm hoping that we can get a video also of his deputy.
Exactly, and he's also showing his PVC as well. Everybody just go out there, make sure you cast your vote. There is no excuse for you not voting today. Please remember to send us your reports and pictures when you go out there to cast your vote. Let us know what is going on out there at the polling unit where you are. Remember to send us the videos on our WhatsApp platform, which has the iReport feature, and then make sure you remember the hashtag @PlusTVAfrica, hashtag Nigeria Decides 2019.
And don't forget, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. We will take your updates from wherever. You can send us a DM on Instagram, you can send us a tweet at Plus TV Africa, whether it's a picture, whether it's a video. Let us know what is happening at your polling units, if there be any disturbance, or if there's everything is perfectly going. Wherever you are, Benin, Ogun, across the Federation, we want to hear from you. Be part of the conversation.
We are going to definitely have a special segment where we just have the reporters of Plus TV Africa, and we have all of those feeds and pulling in, then we can do a stronger assessment. But quickly, gentlemen, now you saw Jimmy Agbaje there preparing to cast his vote. Now, what level of expectation do you expect from the political actors this time around, just sensitizing on the need to vote and protect their vote so far? Because that's the message from all of them so far. Please just ensure that you vote and then stay behind if need be and watch.
I think in the first place, they're not permitted to campaign.
No, they're not campaigning.
I'm saying that there's a thin line between voter sensitization and campaigning. As we've seen that most of what we have on the campaign train is not much of issues-based. It's about telling us what the other person didn't do. Because when you are vying for any position as we have, you should be able to direct your campaigns towards telling them the details of how you intend to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. For instance, I remember that in 2015, the APC emphatically told us that they will restructure the country. The APC told us that it will create about 3 million jobs every year. The APC told us a lot of things. So I expect that when people campaign, tell us what you want to do, and also tell us on the periphery how you intend to actually achieve that. So as they've gone out, in the first place, their presence symbolize the fact that, okay, I'm leading by example, I've come out to exercise my franchise, so you should too. I think what they should tell those who care to listen is the fact that there's need for you to maintain peace and order, and to ensure that, as you rightly said at the outset, make sure that if you can, you stay back so that you can look at what has happened and even look at what has happened the other. Because I remember very well that Professor Mahmoud Yakub and some other INEC person said, at the collation, at the center where you voted, there's an instruction for them to paste the result there.
Exactly.
So it means that if somebody at the polling center, maybe the INEC official or the polling officer, doesn't do that, you could say, please, you have to paste. And the reason that is necessary is that eventually we're going to have a total breakdown of all of these things made public. Yeah. So if in your own polling center, what was pasted actually differs from what you can raise issues, and INEC has every responsibility to address it.
And you know, during the meeting that the INEC chairman, in one of the daily briefings that the INEC chairman was doing over the week, he was asked the question that, so what happens when we need mirror results to be able to follow through with the election? So I think such displays will help ease all of those. And then if we can follow through, all political teams can then see, okay, party X, Y, Z are this and that. And
these polling stations,
mirror folks. Well, we also have some feedback as well from Mangoro. And we'll just scroll that now. Yes, that's Mangoro over there.
Election is in progress. As we can see, the people are lining up. This is Alausa as we speak. Well, that's a tent. That is more like the polling units, and correspondents are there giving us some updates. So these are pictures coming from those places. We can see election observers there. I can see Felicity. I can see Bimba Kintola.
Exactly.
So yes, it's
pretty
going
much
very
calm
well
and peaceful.
It looks like everybody's just going about their business, in a very peaceful
I'm happy
manner.
that vehicles are not on the way, so people perhaps have complied.
Yeah.
But you see, let me also add here that in areas where I said the level of civility is high, I want to leave education now, because we've seen very educated people behave in the most ridiculous and unexpected of ways. So you leave out education. In places where their level of civility is very high, you'd often have this kind of pictures. Now, the civility is also maintained up until the point that they have finished their voting. But the crudity of man's desire to own and possess oftentimes come when they begin to announce results, when it is time for some people to see that reality beats imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is where you see them perhaps begin to act in untoward manner. Yeah. So at the moment, we can still rejoice, laugh, take a drink or two, while we wait for the announcement segment of this electioneering process to see perhaps man's inhumanity to other people in man's quest for power.
Well, we're hoping
that we would.
We're hoping that we do not see that. We're hoping that the level of education and awareness.
Not education. Education in terms of.
No. I'm not talking about formal education. I'm talking about educating us as to how to behave.
It is even not there.
Before, during, and after elections.
I'm saying that we can only advocate for a fervency of voter education from now, so that we can pep it. Let me say this: in this campaigning process, people died. In this campaigning process, we saw, we can interpret people's actions and give it meanings. We saw people who perhaps had little understanding of the importance of life when they went out to support the candidates of their choice. We should have such caution that will make people know that you can support, you can express your love for people, but not at the expense of the ultimate prize, which is your life. Okay. So that was the reason I said civility. I chose it very carefully. I didn't use education because we still need a lot of work to do in that regard.
Yeah. Wow, interesting. Right. Well, we want to take you to the FCT Abuja Area 8 to tell you what's happening there.
Amadine is on standby from there and is bringing us all of these details.
So you will accredited.
I came in
Okay, it's better now.
Actually, when I came, there was a list, so we all wrote our name on the list. And we're expecting the INEC officials to come follow the list, so that we can vote peacefully. But on the arrival, it seems, I don't know, maybe some of the materials are not really ready, or maybe they are trying to put things in place. But right now, we the masses, we are trying to coordinate ourselves. We have been on the queue now, so that we make things easier for the INEC officials, so that the voting can go smoothly.
Are you satisfied with the process so far?
Yeah, I'm satisfied, a little bit, because I expected the whole thing to start earlier than this. It was scheduled to be 8 o'clock, so I expected everything to be 8. But now it's more than this. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 9 o'clock or so. But we can still do something fast about it.
And you have been here since morning. You have witnessed what is happening. According to the INEC officials, they say 8 o'clock. voting commence, and we are still here to 9, and the voting has not started yet. And they said some said they are waiting for the party agent to satisfy the sensitive material before the voting commence. The people's position is clear. Everybody wants to cast their vote. The anxiety to cast their vote is there, but the delay is just pissing everybody off. But I believe very soon we will start casting our votes.
And that was the pulse of Abuja right there. All of those voters say, well, we just want to coordinate ourselves peacefully, ensure that it's an orderly, coordinated election. And the main focus is just to vote and then have peace in the area.
It's important.
They talked about time also. So I think I heard somebody say it started at 9,
and things like that.
as opposed to when it was supposed to start originally.
Yes. Well, I think that we also have to understand the peculiarities. He said something very important at the opening, because I listened to him with rapt attention. He talked about the location of local governments to where some of those people are. Then he also mentioned the state of infrastructure. He talked about the roads. Those were significant factors that you always have to put in anytime you're talking about the movement of things. Then security doesn't only deal with actually dealing with the sensitive materials, the people first. Lagos, for instance, would anybody want to wake up? Let me say you've got about, maybe if Lagos has about 40,000 ad hoc staff, maybe half of that are married women. Half of those married women have some kids that are 10, 8. Excuse me, you wouldn't leave your child too early to go to polling center. These are realities of what we are faced with. So I think that if you put that in as a pool of factors, you'd understand why some people will not begin the elections until past 9. Because before they leave their homes, do not forget the husband will not say because of election allows the wife to be exposed to some dangers. Because even if they say get to the centers at 6, excuse me, only few men will allow their wives go into such jeopardy at such. Even if there are vehicles to take them, when does the driver move? INEC actually hired 80,000 of transporters across 80,000. So when will they get there? Did INEC check the state of all these vehicles? Because some vehicles will not even start this morning. And so there are lots of factors that you must always put into consideration. The process can be good, but you see, at times when some of us who are into research get all of these things across, we do not want to be seen as enemy of state, because this is not a film acted by Will Smith. This is the reality of our elections. We have to get all of these things as case studies. Okay, for instance, we've been listening to a certain Kunu. He mentioned this. All right, okay, can we consider some of this? So they bring it in, they do an analysis, check the likelihood, and they work on it so that we can improve upon it. 2023, don't forget, we have 84 million registered. Over 70 million PVCs collected. We will have, you can write it in your scrapbook, over 100 million by 2023. So when we have over 100 million, you have the social media bring a new dimension to people's consciousness. So that simply means some of the things that many voters overlook now, in 2023, they will refuse to overlook it. Gadgets would have improved. As a matter of fact, some of the information you get across during election will be at the speed of light, if there's anything faster than that. Some of the lies you may want to tell, people would have advanced recordings so that they can refute that. So it is going to be back and forth. So is INEC prepared? Are stakeholders prepared? Do we really have all of the agents, perhaps monitors, observers, also ready to go into the next phase of electioneering with all of the necessities to actually step up and be in sync with the realities of over 100 million? These are questions that can be answered, but we have to consider all of what we have talked about now so that we can provide solutions.
Mr. Adewale, would you like to add up to what he's saying? Because I saw you nodding half the time.
Yeah, he said a lot, because it's a complex process, to be honest with you. And because the planning, if I would say 4 years is not enough for some of those planning. Because by the time you look at it, you now discover that, there are a lot of other issues that you have to consider. Well, actually, and when you are using some of these staffs, probably we need to say we are going to have staffs. Maybe they are going to have some of them put up in a place together.
They have to be.
All the ACOS staff put up together, not that they are going to leave their respective homes. Maybe they have to look for a place closer, a day to election, maybe an apartment close to where they are, and then their materials are available. and then they are moving from those places to those police.
That's why we
stations.
have local observers and international observers, and then we have to even take adequate stock of all of the recommendations being made, and we all see the reports flying and making the news all around, and we should learn from them.
Yes, we have to.
We have to develop as a nation, and as Nigeria continues to decide, we hope we choose right. Thank you very much, Adewale Adigbeson, logistics expert. It's been a pleasure having you in our studio, and Adeni Ikunu. Thank you very much for your time.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege. Thanks indeed.
Nigeria continues to decide today, Mariam.
Well, we still have a long day ahead of us, and we're going to keep giving you those updates. You too can be part of the conversation. Keep letting us know what is happening at your different polling units. We want to bring everybody else up to speed. So if there be any information by video, by picture, even by messages, we are live on Twitter at Plus TV Africa. We are on Instagram. You can send us a DM. And on Facebook, you can also attach videos and pictures. And of course, on WhatsApp, you could also be an iReporter for Plus TV Africa. We'll be putting out those numbers for our WhatsApp page so that you can just send us your messages. Well, it's right there on the screen right now. Let us know what is happening in your area. It is election day. Some people will call it D-Day.
The D-Day.
Go out and vote. You have no excuses. We'll take a break, and when we come back, more on Nigeria Decides.
Most definitely.